of the Administrations and Public Works Committee. We have a quorum, and could I get a motion for the approval of the minutes of the meeting of July 25th?
Motion to approve the minutes.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have items for consideration. A1, the City of Evanston's payroll through July 31st, 2011, $2,750,112.68.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Okay, okay, all in favor? Aye. A2, the City of Evanston's bills through 8/9/11, $3,466,890.45, and the credit card activity through June 30th, 2011, $98,049.94. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Are there any questions or concerns on the bills list? I just wanted to comment. There was a question on the bills list about the roller skating, and I just wanted to share with the other members that I had an opportunity to visit the roller skating at Fleetwood on Friday evening when they were so packed you couldn't move, and also on Sunday afternoon or early Sunday evening with the adults. And it's such a wonderful thing, and there were just so many thanks to the city staff for having this, and people were just really excited to do it. I'm going to try to get the Chandlers as well, but I haven't got there yet. So I just wanted to say that. So this is money well spent. Alderman Rainey.
Where are they roller skating?
In the gym.
On the gym. That's not going to damage the floor at all?
No, it's the way in which the rollers are.
Special rollers.
Yeah, you want to comment? Am I right, Doug? Is that, yeah, special rollers.
Got skates on?
Yeah, they're skates. They roll around, but they have a covering on them. I mean,
So it's not 680 pairs of skates 3 times? It's
Yes.
680 pairs of skates paid for by 3 sources, or what?
you want to address that?
I mean,
Doug?
that was my question. Are there really 2,040 skaters? I don't care if they're duplicates.
It's going to be more than that, actually.
And who can come? And
Anybody can come.
but how do we know about it?
Mr. Gaynor will tell us.
This is part of the Mayor's Summer Youth program. We programmed skating at both Chandler and at Fleetwood. We've rented 680 pairs of skates, which will be used June, July, and August. And there's going to be 3 invoices that will cover the cost of the rental. We're skating in the gymnasiums at both those facilities.
Okay. So where is this advertised on the city's webpage?
Yes, it is.
It is?
It's on Facebook and it's on the webpage.
And how is it advertised on the webpage? On the front page? On the home page?
It's on it's under the Mayor's Summer program.
Alderman Rainey, if you'd like, we can send a link your way so you can post as well.
I'll hunt for it.
Okay.
And I mean, I would imagine I'm not the only one, but I'm glad everybody's showing up to skate. I hope some people from my ward are there.
Yeah, I hope they will, because it's
there
really a
obviously
fun
no
activity.
place, there's no place in the South End for the skate program to take place, unless, of course, you did it at the Levy Center.
We're not doing it at the Levy Center, and this will go through August.
Why? What's so funny about doing it at the Levy Center? There are kids who live down there.
Oh, no.
I mean,
You said-
people want to build all sorts of things in James Park. Why wouldn't you do it at the Levy Center?
We've selected 2 sites for this summer to make a determination if it was a program that would be popular. So this is a pilot program, and we'll be looking to the fall to see what other programs we're going to continue or discontinue the programs that we set up for this summer.
Alderman Burrs, you have a, okay. Are there other questions or comments on the bills list? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A 3.1, Approval of a contract awarded to Schroeder and Schroeder for Clark Street brick replacement and Emerson Green Bay intersection improvement project, bid 12-40. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute in response to bid 12-40 to award the Clark Street brick sidewalk replacement and the Emerson Green Bay intersection improvement project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Schroeder and Schroeder, in the amount of $352,244. Funding will be provided by the Washington National TIF Fund, project account number 416-006-65515, at downtown Clark at $255,000, and the Capital Improvement Fund, project account number 415-920.65515, the Emerson Green Bay at $100,000.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, I should say, as well. A 3.2, approval of the contract award for Malcolm Pierney to update the 209 water cost of service rate and fee study. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute a sole source contract with Malcolm Pierney to update the water cost of service rate and fee study in the not-to-exceed amount of $22,300. Funding for this work will be from the Water Fund account number 7125-62180. This account has a budget allocation of $81,000 in funding year 2011, of which $30,000 was designated for the cost of service study.
Move approval.
We also have a speaker that would like to speak to this, so can we have that
But
speaker?
can we can't move approval.
Well, I'm
Okay,
going to wait
okay,
until after he
okay.
speaks.
I figured you'd prove it, but nothing I say might change your mind, but I think it's a total waste of the taxpayers' money to do a study on a study. And anyone who looked at that study would realize it's just a bunch of schemes, basically, how you can raise the rates on the ratepayers of Evanston. The last study had a 10% rate increase, which the council approved, which you all approved. The prior study also wanted an additional 30% rate increase on the water bills, which nobody on the council even discussed. So why do a study if you're not going to even discuss the study? And from a taxpayer perspective, $22,000 may not be huge amounts of money, but given the economic condition of the city, it's a waste of money. And why can't the staff itself just amend the study? Anyone who looks at the study will realize it's not a useful study. And there's a lot more to talk about, but if a study needs to be done here, study needs to be done of the economic viability of the water department, and really if it's really making money or losing money. And I think the council really should look at that, because I think a lot of ratepayers are really delinquent on these bills, and if you're concerned about these people, then you need to start looking at how you're operating the place. Thank you.
Just for the record, could you please state your name and your address?
Junad Risky, 2784 Sheridan Road.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Okay. You want to comment? Alderman Rainey.
Interesting to listen to that, because I was going to ask sort of a facetious question, and that would be, we're going to approve this, and I'm going to vote to approve it, but we're probably going to vote not to endorse the recommendations for a rate increase, which are probably going to come out of this study. So I'm not going to say the words I agree with Junad, but I'm coming very close.
It's a slippery slope.
I know. But I do think this is a questionable study, this add-on to the previous study. I really do.
Alderman Braithwaite and then Alderman Burrs.
Can't hear you.
From Dave, just to understand the nature of the study and what you hope to get out of it.
Good evening, Dave Stomek, Director of Utilities. In 2008, we did hire Malcolm Perney to do this rate study and fee service, and at that time, they did recommend several different rate options. They had 3 different that they recommended: a just-in-time, a smooth rate, and a front-loaded rate. The smooth rate was more or less the one the city went with, although in their study they said 10%, 10%, 10%, 9%, 6.5%. The city adopted a 10% rate increase last year, and when we made that rate proposal, we indicated that staff would be probably coming back asking for a 5% rate increase this year and a 3% rate increase the following year. Only the 10% was approved. The purpose of this study is in accordance with the capital improvement plan, which does suggest that you do a rate study on an annual basis. It doesn't have to be done by a professional service company. They did it in 2009. Staff did do it in 2010. Staff could do it in 2011, but we only look at more or less 1 or 2 years. We don't try to extract out further than that, and that is the advantage of having this long-term projection done. The other part of this would be staff did recommend a 10, a 5, and a 3. Malcolm Perney would be able to go in and say, if we did those rate increases, this is what your capital improvement program could be, this is what you would have to defer. And they could also say, well, if you want to do your capital improvement program that you're proposing, this is what the rates would have to be. So it helps us present to the City Council a clearer picture of the water fund. Thank you.
Aye.
All,
All right.
wait, you forgot to ask about all opposed.
Are there any opposed? I'm sorry.
I'm voting against it.
Thank you for reminding me. A 3.1, approval of the contract award recommendation to restore Masonry LLC for the tuck pointing and masonry restoration project at the Lorraine H. Morton Civic Center, bid number 12-36. Staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract.
Point of order.
I think it's my cough. As soon as, I'm sorry, the air popped on, and as soon as it does, my coughing starts. But it'll stop in a couple of minutes.
Her mic is on now, though.
Man, I think it is. I thought it was. I might have not been talking into it. Sorry. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the base bid plus alternate 1 for the tuck pointing and masonry restoration project at the Lorraine Morton Civic Center to restore Masonry LLC in the total amount of $62,600. Funding for this work will be from the funding year 2011. Capital Improvement Program, account number 415175, with a total budget of $450,000. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A4, ordinance 64-0-11, amending City Code subsection 3-5-6V, Class V, liquor licenses to permit sale of alcohol other than beer and wine. Local Liquor Commissioner recommends City Council adoption of ordinance 64-0-11. On July 13th, 2011, the Liquor Control Review Board convened a hearing to consider amending the Class V liquor license to permit licenses to sell liquor other than beer and wine. Consideration arose from requests by the only Class V licensed D&D Finer Foods. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any comments?
Alderman Holmes, is this in your ward?
D&D
Foods?
Yeah,
I
it's,
think
yeah,
it
it's
is
across
in
the
there.
street. I have to remember D&D in that place. So yes, it is.
Well, I just want to say that D&D Foods had a business in my ward called Matt Nevada's, which we have missed ever since they left. And they now own 3 buildings in my ward. And while they needed some help at the beginning, they are just about the best people you could have doing work in the city. And so hopefully the neighbors, I understood that the neighbors had a meeting, or at least there was a meeting where this was talked about.
If so.
I think the first
nobody
ward might have.
invited- If so, no one invited me,
I think
so.
the first ward might have had a meeting.
I
where
believe
it
the
was
first ward did.
discussed. Yeah.
Alderman Fist and I often share everything that's on Noyes Street, so
Right.
sometimes she hears when I don't hear.
So anyway, I really support this. I love that little store, and I've always fantasized that there'd be a store just like that at Asbury and Oakton.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We're gonna skip over, no, I'm sorry, they'll come in order. A5, ordinance 68-0-11, the solid waste transfer station fee. The Corporate Council recommends introduction and adoption of ordinance 68-0-11 upon suspension of the rules. This ordinance appeals ordinance 82-0-10, but still imposes the solid waste transfer station fee applicable to the Viola transfer station. This ordinance shall be retroactive to December 17th, 2010, which was the effective date of now repealed ordinance 82-0-10. Staff recommends our request suspension of the rules for introduction and action on August the 8th. Is there a...
Move approval.
Second.
We have speakers. We have quite a few speakers, so I'm going to ask that if you just take a couple of minutes, that would be very helpful. If someone says what you, pardon me?
The speakers were maybe on A6 as well.
Yeah, right, well, okay, A6 and well, this is A5, and A6 will come after that, okay. Those that have, well, the Dickersons did not say A6, so I'll just say the Dickersons, Mr. Gaines, Ms. Levitt, believe it's Tyrus, okay. Both the Tyruses, Chris and Allison. And Ms. Moore, Mr. Moore, and Ms. Davis. If you all want to line up at either one of the mics, if you want to speak to these items right now. Don't be shy, come on.
Just
And
to
would you
remind,
please state your name and your address when you are speaking for our records? Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, my name's Jackie Davis. I live at 2423 Church Street. And I just want to comment briefly about the Viola Station and the trucks that go by my house every day, throughout the day, constantly. Shatters my walls, shatters my windows, shatters my mirrors, everything shakes. Doing damage to my house that is, I have no idea what kind of damage, but I can only believe it's doing a lot of damage. If I lived closer to the station itself, I don't think I could even tolerate for a minute the stench that comes from that garbage dump. It's an insult to the community, and it needs to be removed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Moore. I live at 582 Sheridan Square in Evanston. And I'm commenting on this as a resident of Evanston who's concerned about the growing operations of the Veolia transfer facility. I think that, first of all, this is the wrong business in the wrong location. I think that Veolia's actions regarding removal of its condition 17 of the permit, as I understand it, and exemption from Evanston zoning regulations shows that it's concerned about its operations and that it may not, at least now or in the future, be the right type of business for this location. It started out, as we all know, many years ago as a very small transfer facility, small waste station, and has grown over the years. So I'm very concerned about that. I think that the $2 a ton limit is far too low. If you look at the language of the resolution, it says that that fee that you've proposed will not come close to recapturing the environmental or the enormous financial burden imposed upon the city by Veolia's operation. So between that fact and the other facts regarding the facility's impact in Evanston that are laid out in the resolution, I think that under the city's general police powers, the health and environment powers you have under Illinois law, that you have the right to impose a higher fee. And I'd finally just ask you to be very cautious in your revisions to the city code that you're reviewing and doing, proposing to do later tonight, that you take care not to limit the city's ability to further regulate Veolia in the future. I think that Veolia knows it's got a good thing in Evanston right now. That's why it's fighting this. So I urge the council and the committee to have backbone around this and stand firm. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hello, my name is Allison Tires. I live at 1679 Church Street in the Church Street Village development. And I also agree with the prior speakers. I think that the location of Veolia in the heart of a residential neighborhood 2 blocks from our high school where students walk by every day is a real travesty. I have 3 small children. I live next to my neighbors who have small children, infants. Every day we are exposed to a lot of noise pollution, which is frustrating, annoying, and a nuisance, to massive traffic disturbances, which also create a lot of potholes along Church Street. Odor is very difficult to deal with. What worries me more is what they use to cover up the odor. So if we've been calling to complain about odor and then instead of the stench of the trash, you smell a cherry kind of fake, sickly chemical smell, which we don't know what that is. We don't know what we're breathing in. And we're worried also about what particulates are coming out of that trash transfer station. There's no guarantees that we're not breathing in a lot of things that we don't even smell at that time. I do, of course, support the idea of charging a fee, at least, for the city to recoup the costs. I worry that such a fee might become kind of a source of revenue for the city, which would make the city more willing to keep Veolia, and that should not be the end goal here. I find it very surprising that the city of Evanston can't have more power over an industry like this in a residential neighborhood, which is really affecting the quality of life of its residents. So I would encourage you to do as much as you can to try to see Veolia go somewhere else. Thank you.
My name is Ike Dixon. I reside at 2327 Church Street, and quickly I just wanted to reiterate and agree with the prior speakers that it is environmental hazard and the trucks are doing damage. There's no question about it to our homes, not only to our windows and the entire house shake, but I am pretty sure and know that it's doing damage to our foundation as well. And we live about 5 blocks from the transfer station, and the smell, the stench of the trucks going by, they're not covering it up because it's very difficult to do gardening or anything outside when those trucks go down the street because the smell is sickening. I mean, that's just putting it nicely. As well as, I would just say it blankly, I am one of those people that would like to see Veolia go. No questions about it. You can penalize them, you can do all kinds of things, but I just would like to see them go because they are not bringing anything good to the environment or to our city. And as the other speaker said, with the trucks and the speeds that they go down, it's like an assembly line through Veolia. And if they are permitted to expand, it's going to be even worse. And it's going to be even more dangerous for our children to cross the street to go to school. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Tiras. I live at 1679 Church Street, along with my wife and 3 children, and I basically agree with everything that's been said up to this point. Just a reminder to the council that if a transfer station of a similar nature as Veolia is, if a transfer station were to be built today, law would require that it be built on 25 acres of land. Veolia sits on 2 acres. So it should be clear that this, even though they may be protected by law, I would just like to reiterate that I think that I encourage the council to have backbone on this issue, to bring all resources to bear that the city can use in order to fight against this multi-billion-dollar, multi-transnational corporation. It just doesn't belong in a great city like Evanston. Please help us get it out.
The name is Ben Gaines. I live at 1645 Fowler. I'm directly across the street from Mrs. Dixon, who spoke earlier. This has been an ongoing complaint of mine since my late wife, and 2 sons moved into our home after it was built in 1959. I have complained before it was Viola, and I don't know how many other people were before, but the complaint is still the same. We still have the stench, and I don't know of any place else in Evanston that this would be tolerated, but other in this particular section of Evanston. I hate to say it, but it's in a black neighborhood, so nobody gives a damn. Now, these trucks run up and down this street with impunity. I can sit in my house, in the kitchen, and the whole house shakes. Now, last year, my foundation shifted, and I've had to have work done on the foundation. I'm going to have the house jacked up. I can't prove it, but there are 3 cracks outside on Church Street that run north and south. And when those trucks go over these things, my whole house shakes. Now, this is not good, and I don't think that the little pennies that the city of Evanston is getting for Viola to operate in this city is worth it. Now, the complaint was, the people said before, well, these are jobs. Well, I don't give a damn about the jobs. If the jobs are that good, whoever works there will follow that job wherever it's going. I can't believe that in the city of Evanston, running by a prestigious high school, and if you look at the streets from their point going west, it's probably one of the worst streets in the city of Evanston, and these trucks aren't doing us any favors. And the stench, as has been spoken to before, when they come over the bridge, there are signs, speed limit ahead, doesn't mean a thing. If it says 20, they're doing 35 or 40 miles an hour. So now I've been questioned about how do I know that they're speeding. I'm 88 years of age, and I've been driving for 70 years. And I know when a car is speeding, and I know when a car is almost in the speed limit. I am constantly driving and trying to stay within the speed limit. I know it's a difficult thing, but I am conscious of this, and I try not to speed. So please help us, as has been said before, get Viola out of the city. We don't need them. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Cindy Levitt, and I live at 1645 Church Street. I do have a ringside seat to the operations at Veolia. I live in Church Street Village, and when the leaves aren't out on the trees, I can see the entire operation. I moved to Church Street Village 3.5 years ago, and the first evening I slept there, I woke up at 6 a.m. thinking there was an earthquake. I'd sleep on the 3rd floor, and my building was shaking, as other speakers have mentioned. I bought my townhouse so that I could garden. I have a lovely little garden in back, and most days it stinks so bad that I can't even enjoy the garden. I lived in Northwest Evanston for 29 years. I can guarantee you that if this transfer station was located in my old neighborhood, it would have been gone in a week. There is a document from the EPA dated 2000 that I've been circulating to a few people, looking at the location of waste transfer stations across the country in low and disenfranchised, low-income communities. I don't think it's by accident that it is located on the west side. However, it's not too late to rectify this environmental justice issue. It's also environmental racism as far as I'm concerned. I did serve on the Evanston Human Relations Commission for 6 years, many, many years ago. I understand a little bit about racism in the community, have lots to learn, but I just implore you as a city council to do everything within your power to help us as residents. I know that you're somewhat limited, the taxing, and I'm a little concerned about looking at the $2 fee as a source of income for the community, for the city. I also want to just remind you that in terms of the West Side Plan and some of the development that's hopefully going to take place in the future, this would be a major component. We would need to get rid of Veolia to actually see economic development flourish on Evanston's west side. And as some of the other speakers mentioned, the health risks, the odor, the particulates, we don't know. I've talked to their operations manager. I've talked to lots of corporate people at Veolia about how do they ensure that there's not lead waste coming in? How do they ensure there's not asbestos? You know, we don't know what we're breathing. And as a prior speaker mentioned, this cherry-flavored smell that they're putting on top of garbage. Now we smell garbage and this other chemical. So I am just encouraging you to do whatever you can as the city council. We haven't had much luck with the IEPA, the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, so I kind of wanted to speak about A6 too, but in general, we do support the mayor and the comments. The one question, though, is I wondered if there's a way to see the requested permit, the modification to the permit that Veolia was requesting. Is that somewhere in public record, or is it in the, it's mentioned in here in A6 that they want to modify and expand the transfer station.
We'll have Mr. Farrar address you on that.
Pardon me? Okay. Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Grant for our Corporation Council. I'll be happy to provide that permit information. We obtained that from the IEPA via FOIA. It's just a 2-page letter, but I can get that to you. So you can contact my office at any time, and we can make that available to you. Pick it up.
Is that the original permit, or is that what they're seeking to
It's their June 22nd, 2011 request for modification.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Muffy McCauley, and I developed the Strangeloft building adjacent to the transfer station. I want to reiterate the point that Cindy just made, that I appreciate that this is a business operating in our city. There are scant jobs that have been maintained in the city of Evanston related to Veolia. Most of them migrated to Northbrook, where they have a more modern facility. My main point is that economic development at Church and Dodge is dead in the water as long as Veolia's operation is there. I showed a space yesterday to a very interesting production company that's in Lakeview in the city. They loved the space. They said it's great. They walked out the door and said, wow, what a shame, that odor. And that was that. So if we're ever going to change the dynamic there, it has to start with the relocation of Veolia. They are right on top of businesses, right on top of households, and it could not be less appropriate. So thank you very much for any moves that you can make to urge review at the Springfield level of their permit. Appreciate it.
Hi, Ron Fleckman, 1657 Church. I guess I have a couple of questions. Reading through the documents, the permit requested something was for tarping, and does anybody know what that is?
Come back again.
And Grant for our Corporation Council. What the permit is seeking, what Veolia is seeking to do is to construct a separate tarping station, which is to assist, based upon my understanding, what Veolia has said to me, is to assist the loading and the loading of the trash onto the trucks. So it requires a building of a new, essentially gantry / ladder type set up such that Veolia personnel can access the truck and then pull the big long tarp over the truck preparatory to the truck exiting the facility. That tarping station is one of the things that's non-compliant with the zoning code.
Thanks. And then second, I think it was raised earlier, the particular, is there a burden, and I don't know I obviously don't know the answer, is there a burden on Veolia to prove that it is not creating an environmental hazard? Is that part of its permit?
That's something that the regulatory agency, IEPA, addresses. I can't comment on that. I just don't know the particulars of how IEPA handles that. But we're going to raise that issue, I believe, in the objections and comments that we submit.
And I guess last but not, the $2 per 1,000 tons, is that, I think that was, or per ton? Is that at the low end? I was reading through the document. Is that at the low end of what's legally charged, or at the high end, or?
That fee is what is comparable to similarly situated Veolia transfer station fees with other customers. I'll just note for the record that despite Veolia's protestations to the contrary, that our fee, the city's fee, is too high. I believe that's fully consonant under the case law cited in the ordinance that the council will thoughtfully consider and review tonight. But it's comparable, I believe, to what Veolia pays in Batavia.
Okay, so the case law that was cited in the ordinance were other Veolia facilities around?
There were two similarly situated transfer station fees cited. One was Batavia, which is the $1.90 to $2.10 per ton, and then another one was the Plano, Illinois, which is another operator besides Veolia, and if memory serves, that was $2.75 per ton.
Okay. All right, and I assume the rewriting of the ordinance has to do with Veolia's first paying under protest, and then the city thinking, okay, we got to get support, kind of do the ordinance in a way that would withstand.
Quite candidly, and I think this is an open secret. Veolia has told the city that it's going to sue us.
Okay.
And so Veolia is engaging its high-priced, high-powered attorneys and its multinational conglomerate to bring the full weight of a $50 billion corporation to bear against the city. So what we did in cooperation with staff is rewrite the ordinance so as to fully and clearly explain and make the legislative record clear as to the basis for the fee.
Okay, and then I guess my last question is, with the ordinance, is it possible for the city to impose a, that Veolia keep the public or keep the city informed of its health standards or the environmental impact?
Well, those are matters that are regulated by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. However, the ordinance is clear that part of the rationale for the fee is to address and somehow recapture the environmental impacts. But the environmental impact issue is something that I believe the Health Department is continuing to address, in which the Corporation Counsel's office is continuing to address by way of the citations that we are prosecuting for nuisance and other violations.
Okay, thank you.
I signed up, I think, for number 6. I wanted to read a letter from Janet.
Your name and address.
Okay, I'm sorry. My name is Dorothy Head. I live at 1823 Laurel in Evanston. And I am going to read a letter from Janet Alexander Davis. It is dated October 8th, 2011, to the Alderman of Evanston City Council, City Clerk Rodney Green, and City Manager Wally Bobzinski regarding Veolia, formerly Active Service. My name is Janet Alexander Davis, and I reside at 1726 Leland Avenue. I was born in Evanston more than 68 years ago and have not lived in any other city or state. I know some people cringe when speakers state how long they have lived in Evanston, but saying that adds value and longevity to live under a system and their rules. Any time lived here is valued and should be listened to with respect. I'm not happy with the existence and usage of the Veolia property located near Church Street and Darrell Avenue. In the past, the former active service employed many Evanston residents, and the process of handling garbage seemed to be different. A transfer dump in the middle of a residential neighborhood, located near a large high school and the public Mason Park, which serves so many children every day, is much to bear now. I live on the west side of Evanston, and each time I pass the Veolia dump, I smell the odor and think there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not happy with this realization. If you are one who has done the same thing by letting this go, you can change your mind and welcome the action to change the things you can. I watch most city council meetings to educate myself on the system I live under. I hear some people come and state that they are speaking for the community. I'm not sure about that because they never asked me what I thought or would be willing for me not to agree on all things. But a few is enough to work together. To me, a real learning comes from being open to new ideas, approaches, and collaborations. Evanston City Council, all I know is I can produce at least 15 names who are not happy with Veolia being in our neighborhood. Easily more names would be possible with additional effort. Even if there were space for this dump, it would not exist on Central Street or Central Park in North Evanston. Do not let it continue to exist in the neighborhood at Church Street and Darrell Avenue. With appreciation, Janet Alexander Davis, 1726 Leland Avenue, Evanston, Illinois. And I would just like to speak on my behalf. My name is Dorothy Head, and I'm a property owner, has been in Evanston the last 35 years. I am very upset about the garbage transfer station being in our neighborhood. Everybody else has talked about odor, etc. But I want to talk about the financial aspect because it lowers the value of our property. Outside of the fact that it's a stench, it's a safety hazard, all these other things have been talked about. But we can't get the same price in our neighborhood for our property as someone else in North Evanston or some part of Evanston. So we really need to have Veolia out of our neighborhood. And I hope that you will honor this request. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Linda Beck, and I live at 1240 Forest Avenue. And I got interested in this project through Leadership Evanston. Our class graduated this past June, but I've remained on this project. I figured in about a nanosecond upon hearing about it how this was just the wrong place for this waste transfer site. As a matter of fact, the EPA back in the late 90s convened a council of representatives across the nation from different disciplines to look into the disparity of where waste transfer sites were placed. And by and large, all of them were placed in lower income minority neighborhoods. And a report that came out in 2000 that talked about this also talked about different ways to remedy this, and one of those was on how to site these transfer stations in the future. And I believe Christopher Tierras mentioned that a waste transfer site of this size, which is handling anywhere from 500 tons to 750 tons of waste per day, would be sited on 25 acres. And if you need to know what that would look like, just drive out to Glenview. They have a beautiful waste transfer site there that has rolling hills around it, very far away from anybody. Needless to say, far away from children playing in Mason Park, 4,000 students going to Evanston High School daily, and seniors and families living hundreds of feet away from the stench and odor. And one of the things that our group did find out that is very disconcerting is we talk about the noise and the odor that's coming from this, but what we really don't know is the unknowns. And there are many unknowns about what's going on at this transfer site that is affecting children from all across Evanston, because 4,000 children go to that high school on a daily basis. So I would urge the city council to do everything in the power. Another thing that we did find out was that the tonnage fee, a lot of the cities across the nation that have employed tonnage fees on transfer stations have, it's become, I don't want to say a bribe, I have a better word for it, but for lack of dementia that might be setting in at an early age, I can't think of it, but it does overshadow, you start to get a revenue base from this, and it does start to overshadow the bigger issues of economic development for this issue and the contaminants that are in this area. One last thing I would like to close on is I know that the city of Evanston has received an $18 million grant for affordable housing. And there is a real opportunity for this area, the 8th Ward, the 3rd Ward, the 2nd Ward, and the 5th Ward, to really see some turnaround in economic development. And the first thing that needs to happen is for Veolia to be displaced in order to make this a viable area, not only for the west side of Evanston, but for all of us. It helps everybody's tax base if Veolia is gone.
Is there anybody else that wanted to speak that didn't sign up? Okay. All right. I can't remember now. Did we move in? We have a motion. It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion from the members? Alderman Rainey.
Well, I find the testimony interesting because there appears to be a belief among those opposing the presence of Veolia that the city supports it. I mean, I heard that because, I mean, there are accusations being made, and I know for one, I have personally never heard an alderman on the council, current council, supporting the presence of that transfer station. However, I will say, having been on the council longer than any other member, there have been aldermen, and aldermen who represented the 5th Ward, who supported the presence of the transfer station before Veolia came there. So I'm not sure that we really have had anything to do with its presence there, and hopefully we can do something about removing its presence, although it seems discouraging, the information we get from our staff regarding that. I sort of look at the Veolia situation with a little more hope than I look at the Northwestern Charter situation. And we have been told by the Supreme Court that Northwestern's charter, excluding them, exempting them from ever paying property tax on any of their property, that it is in perpetuity. That award was made to them in perpetuity. Hopefully it's not as bad news as that for Veolia. But the $2 fee, I am surprised to hear the new take on the $2 fee, that's an economic advantage and a budget enhancement. It isn't. I am sure we're spending more than $2 a ton policing them. I mean, our legal department alone is spending hours and hours and hours, and the council members and Alderman Holmes and everybody else are spending hours dealing with this. So hopefully you can root out any aldermen on the council who support the presence of Veolia there and run them out of office, but I don't know anybody up here. So it just feels bad when we're attacked for for not being for being the bad guys when we're really not. We are bad guys in a lot of instances, but I don't think this is one of them. And I know that most of us are committed to doing everything humanly possible to getting rid of them, including accepting the pending lawsuit, which probably is going to happen. I mean, the council has caved in on many occasions on lawsuits, saying, you know, it's not worth getting involved in it. But nobody's done that this time, right, Alderman Holmes?
Not to my knowledge.
No, I don't. So,
well, I think the
and to say that the only reason this, I'm sure that recent sightings of transfer stations, and there is one in Wheeling, by the way, that is not in a totally minority neighborhood. I'm sure that that was the case, or that is the case now when citing them in some parts of the country. But this station, how long has this been here, Alderman Holmes?
Since the 50s.
50s?
Well, but it wasn't always a transfer station, and I think that part of the thing is that.
What was it? Can you tell us?
Well, it started out as active service, and it was a dump, but similar to at James Park and at Robert Crown, which, you know, we closed a long time ago. But it was a small family business, and that changed. But what I wanted to say about the fee, Alderman Rainey, and I think I can understand where people get confused. It sort of all started at the same time, and sometimes you get facts sort of mixed up when people really began to say it's enough about Veolia, and at the same time, city staff was saying it's enough because our streets are being torn up, and the fees came into about, because that's how the fee came about, was because of the Public Works brought that to us 2 years ago, I think it was. It took a year to get it through. I think I'm right on the timing. To talk about them being able to recoup, for the streets. And I think people sort of get that mixed up, but one has nothing to do with the other at all, and there certainly isn't any support on the council that for that.
But several issues have come up where the city really could do something. For example, if these trucks are speeding, we need to put a cop out there and just wait, I mean, they have these stations all over when we do the special stops, like for seatbelts and whatever. You have a cop in one spot and a cop in another, and the cop in one spot says there's a speeding truck coming, and they catch them, they snatch them right there. And that's what we ought to do. We ought to do surprise stops, and I believe that they could, they would end up getting the message, because they shouldn't be doing that. I'm also absolutely appalled that some of the carriers that we have contracts with are transferring garbage at Veolia. That just seems to me that the next contract we do with these people, why not say you can't take your garbage there? You've got to send it out of town, wherever the next send it to Northbrook. We'll pay a few extra bucks, but you're not going to put it there.
And we need to let the neighbors know too that the city council members just found that out. We did not know that, so that's new information to us as well.
I think I asked the question.
You asked the question a couple of weeks.
I mean, because it just, I've heard some people say, "Oh no, nothing from Evanston goes there." Well, it certainly does. Northwestern stuff goes there. Our stuff goes there. Lakeshore, what's her name? Lakeside, Lakeshore. They dump stuff there. I mean, that's where we need to start, right there. Just things we have control over, we really need to get aggressive. I'm just saying.
Okay. Alderman Braithwaite.
No, I just wanted to thank Alderman Rainey for the comments and piggyback on some of the things that you have said by sharing with the residents. I think in the past 5 months of me being seated, this is the one issue that I've probably spent more than my share of time. And just for the residents that are here and those that are listening, I think we've made some accomplishments, and it's taken me a while to get up to speed from going down the state, listening to the residents, meeting with our state senator, our state representative, speaking to corporate counsel, et cetera. But some things that I feel good about is we've established 311, and I think in the past 3 months there have been more tickets issued probably this summer than we've recorded in I don't know how many years. Regarding the speeding trucks, and I think that is something that's difficult and we're still working to tackle, but we've had the speed trap out there a number of times, both east and west of the station, and that's something that we're paying very close attention to. Through the added pressure of 311 and working with Alderman Holmes, we've probably logged in over 40 hours of meeting with their corporate representative. Again, fighting for the residents. Some of the things that they've ordered, an odor cannon is what I'll call it. There's talks of also ordering a door to talk about the smell. And I guess what I want to be real careful in stating, in our efforts to make it better, by no means are we giving them a green light. And it is a very difficult situation for someone for myself walking into. But again, I think the council is working very hard to address this situation for the residents. And I think it's important for you all to understand that.
And I think I would just like to add before, okay, just wanted to say that I think I'm very clear, and I think the residents know I'm very clear, that I want Veolia gone just like everyone else does. However, while they're here, I want them to be the best neighbor possible, so we will continue to work to make them get those high-speed doors. I don't care how much money they have to spend. They have lots of it, so they can spend some of it, and do anything else that's going to help alleviate the noise, the odor, and anything else that is troubling to the neighbors. So please don't mistake that as us supporting it. It's just trying to make sure that things are going to smell better, look better, or whatever. But bottom line, I've said this in all of our meetings, bottom line is I want you gone. I know they can't go tomorrow, but while they're here, then let's make them be good neighbors and do some of the things that should have been done for years. And I'm just sorry that it's taken so long for this to come about, but at least now it's here, and the city, I believe, will do as much as it can to make this happen. And a lot of it is out of our control. I mean, we cannot do the state. They are licensed by the state, so never mistake that. So please call and talk to your representative, your state senator and your state representative, and let them know how you feel as well. Okay, Alderman Rainey.
Several people over time have complained about this air freshener, whatever they're using. I think something ought to be done about meeting with them about that.
We did. We had a meeting. Couple of weeks back, and they're going to try a new one now. I'm sorry, they're going to do a citrus smell or something.
There's citrus
and something else.
Lemon, citrus, and
they're going to try something else. We'll see if it works, but I'm sure the neighbors will let us know. But they're going to get rid of the cherry one. I guess the cherry one is really offensive, so we'll see what happens after that. But we did meet with them, and the city also took the step last fall. City manager hired a staff person to work with us full time on this to make sure, number one, that the health department is always out there to check on the complaints that are made. We know from 2 years back when complaints were made, and we were told very clearly that all we had to do was call them in, and we were calling into Des Plaines. Muffy, you remember this, and they were supposed to be keeping a log, but they didn't. And we didn't find that out. When we found out, we said, we've been logging all these complaints all these years, and then there was no record of them. So that's why when we had 311 and began to log through tracking now through 311, that has been very helpful because we do then have a tracking record. So there have been some things that have been done that's been really, really good. So Alderman Brefka, you're right in terms of we've made some progress. And the progress has been made on the city's part. I really want to say that, and I say this to Veolia all the time. Show us what you've done to make things better because the city is working very hard to try to make those things happen. Mm-hmm.
So the person, I don't know much about this person that we've hired. I don't even know what the name is.
Ashley, yes.
Ashley? Mm-hmm. Oh. Well, what does Ashley do other than keep track of calls?
Oh, no,
she does more than keep track of calls.
But I mean, I don't know.
She doesn't keep track of calls.
Oh, she does more than keep track of calls. So she, on a regular basis.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay, so on a regular basis, anytime there's a 311 call. So what I've noticed over the summer is that with a warmer temperature, it smells more. So on occasion, prior to the summer, she would go out on 1 or 2 occasions and just do the regular inspection. So she's the one that monitors the smell. She'll respond to the 311 calls. She monitors the rodent activity. In the past, she's done research on the different chemicals that are used to mask the odors. We've attended, she was there with me when we went downstate to Springfield. We've taken a tour out to Glenview just to see what type of best practices they do. And she also communicates with the residents on a regular basis, just whenever there's information that needs to go out. So
She's working on the Carl Caneva ad.
Yeah.
Under Carl's direction. Okay. Are there any other questions? Any other comments? Did we move in second, Phil? We moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And is there any opposed? Okay, moving on to A6. So this will go to council, and we will ask for suspension of the rules so that we can act on it tonight. A6, authorization of the mayor to submit comments to the Illinois EPA regarding Veolia's permit submission. Staff recommends City Council authorization for the mayor to submit comments and objections to the Illinois EPA regarding Veolia's recent permit request related to the Veolia transfer station. Veolia seeks to modify and expand the transfer station in ways which violate certain of Evanston's zoning regulations. Staff recommends City Council approve and authorize the mayor to submit comments and objections to Veolia's request that the Illinois EPA alter the Evanston transfer station permit. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that completes our agenda for this evening. We have no other items for discussion or communications. Could we have a move for adjournment? The Planning and Development Committee will meet at 7:15, which will be about 15 minutes.